Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are finding some value in some of these videos. I hope that you're excited about everything that's going on in the markets. And I know, if you're willing to stay the course and get good at this skill, you can accomplish some great things right alongside me. So this video is going to be a little bit different than what we typically do. I'm live streaming this straight to YouTube, so it's going to be kind of different. We'll see how it all goes. Give me some grace, I suppose, along the way. So first and foremost, of course, before I get started, I have to go over this whole, disclaimer that says don't trade what you can't afford to lose. These classes are for future education and training purposes only. Nothing is to be considered financial legal advice, and you guys get the picture. So if you have not already done so, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. All the stuff that makes the YouTube value, say, hey, look, show this to more people. It helps me, it helps you, and ultimately, the more people we end up helping, the more impact we get to make around the globe, right? So today we're going to do things a little differently. Like I said, we've got some of our staff kind of out. Our schedules are all over the place. So we're going to figure it out as time goes on. But for tonight, live stream from YouTube. So there might not be background music. But it'll be okay. The whole concept is the content and not the show, right? So today what I did was I went ahead and I got the questions and answers from the YouTube. I want to make sure that we answer these in class today, or in this session, I should say, not class. So I'm going to have them up right here. First and foremost is about, one of them is about fractals. One of them is about prop firms, and one of them is locating liquidity, right, in the market. So we're going to go over those as well. But before we do that, we're going to go over those while we're on the charts, actually. So I'm going to hit stop share here. I'm going to go new share. This is always going to be fun as I explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. It's always a good time. What is it called? Monologuing, right? So here we are monologuing along the way. As you guys know, I went ahead and started a new sheet like this for what I do on the Simplicity system. So with our trading kind of system with one of the companies that I work with. If you don't already have that system, there's a link in my link tree. By all means, click on it. If you do end up purchasing it and you want your $50 back, make sure you message me and say, hey, I purchased this because you referred me. Send me a message. I think it's $50 or $25 that I send you back. I just need to know that you were referred to that company through me. And then in doing so, I send you that via PayPal. So there's that as well. If you don't have that system and you want it, again, that link is in the link tree. But using that system, using about 20 minutes twice a month, give or take 2 or 3 times a month, and that's it. Obviously, I do have some good management in place. We've been able to accomplish some really big things. Now, granted, I'm doing most of that on paper and in live accounts. This is just going to be the spreadsheet we're going to start and then back up with some my FX books along the way. But needless to say, we're going to keep track of what we discuss on YouTube week after week. So you can see these are about 2 weeks apart. In this case, I messed up. I did that extra week that month, and that's okay. So really the whole concept was to start in September, and this is where we're at. So far, we've got about 691 pips, which, as you guys know, using one standard lot, that's about $6,900. Obviously, that's not factoring in things like commissions and swaps and all the stuff that goes into this, but you guys get the idea. That's after accounting for losses, and that's not even perfect. Now, this is going to fluctuate quite a lot as time goes on. As you know, and in the early days, any small, minute change makes a big difference, but going forward, then huge changes barely make any difference at all. Kind of give you an idea what that looks like. In our live morning sessions as part of the paid membership for Super EZ or Be For University, and soon enough, part of Six Figure Trading Coach as well. All of those 3 companies have access to my live morning classes where we look at live trades. We discuss management. We do compounding challenges and funded account challenges. We'll talk different strategies and management and really just form a community of people who are also investing, looking to spend a couple of hours a week to have financial freedom and want to really gain in their skill set. So this is what we were able to do there. You'll see our accuracy kind of fluctuates between high 80s, low 90s percentage, but that's since, 2021, give or take, don't quote me. It's been a while. So I think a year and a half, and that's 500,000 pips. So not bad at all. This is where we're at for simplicity. Figure 1-2 weeks, right? 2 weeks in time. So we're going to review these trades, take a look at what we were able to accomplish. I can't pause this recording by any means, so that's going to be fun. But we're going to review all of this, and then we're going to look at some new trades today, and then we're going to go ahead and answer those questions. So again, I'm going to hit stop share. This is going to be interesting because I have no ability to dictate what can be shown and what can't be shown. So we're going to be a work in progress together. But here we are on my VPS. This is the broker that I use typically for classes, mostly because we make so many adjustments. We discuss about so many things on these calls that I don't want to make any major changes to actual huge live money accounts, plus the legal liabilities and all the stuff that goes into that. But needless to say, here we are. Let's see real quick. We had odd JPY as a loss, Euro GBP as a loss. And then, of course, we had no entry on GBP CHF, which we already knew. And then we had the rest of these. So we're going to take a look now, see what those did. We know that we've got the management predefined, meaning this isn't subjective. This isn't, well, Jenny said, or Jenny's doing it differently, or that only worked because Jenny did it, something that she didn't tell us. Every single thing we're doing with this system is duplicatable and predefined. If I make any changes, you guys will know in advance prior to me making those changes. Otherwise, if you're following along with these free public videos, in theory, you should be able to be duplicating or achieving comparable results. Are you going to have the exact same results? No, because there's differences in leverages, countries, gosh, I can't even think, the amount you're risking, your form of management. There's going to be a lot of differences. But in theory, if you are taking these trades, even in your paper trading / demo trading accounts, you should be able to learn to manage alongside for absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything to just go to babypips.com, get the education. It does not cost a darn thing. Start there. Please go to my link tree, download any of those brokers, sign up for some demo accounts. Don't put real money into anything. Instead, just get comfortable, get familiar, and then find someone that you resonate with, find some place to call home and stick with it, because this industry can change your life. So with that said, the purple ones that I have highlighted are the ones I'm looking at for this week. You'll notice there's not a lot. I'm not super in love with much of the market this week. I know there's a lot of high news. There's a ton going on interest rates wise and all the other fundamental things that I don't pay much mind to. But either way, the market's very much so trending, and this is a reversal based system. So looking for the reversals that don't have a whole bunch of higher time frame confluence is, fishing in the dark, and I don't want to do that. So before we go to the purple ones that are our watch list for this week, let's start with our previous week. Remember, management is predefined, meaning once you're up by 50 pips, you're protecting that trade no matter what. How you're doing that is up to you. You can apply a trailing stop. You can move your stop loss into profit. You can trim some of your position down. All of those things are absolutely possible and a good idea. You can also decide to close the trade altogether. For me, my rules are pretty simple. At 50 pips, I am protecting my trade, and then the rest of the way, I'm letting it run with very loose management. My stop loss is at structure plus 1 hour ATR. Again, predefined, not subjective, not, well, I didn't know what she knew, or none of that. It's all very, very defined. So starting with US oil, this one's a little tricky. We looked at this on, actually, we originally looked on what is it, the 31st. We caught a little bit of this buy, and then we looked again on the 6th, right? So we were looking for this buy on the 6th, whatever that is. We ended up getting a little bit, it moved about 90 pips in total, not a whole bunch, but not compared to this pair, I should say, not a whole bunch, but enough to follow our rules and protect this trade prior to it reversing, right? Beautiful, easy way to be. Not ideal, because again, it made a lower low. So this continued in the other direction, but it is what it is. So winning trade, I will take it. In total, it moved, I think 98 pips is what we have down. You should have got at least 50 pips out of this on your paper trading or live account, either one. And otherwise, great trade idea. GBP CHF was the one that did not activate. So I'm going to take that off of our watch list, and then I'm going to put a W again to put it on our watch list for this week, because it never activated when we were looking over here. It never broke the fractal, which I'll talk about here in a moment. But we can look again now. Next was GBP odd, and I'm going to scroll over here just so we can kind of get an idea. We got about 250 pips on this trade. So if we go to the candle in which we were looking, we were waiting for the break of that mark. That's in and around this zone. In total, this moved 165 and a total of 248, 250-ish pips. Not a bad way to be at all. Not at all. And actually, it should be a little bit lower than that. It should be down in this range. But you guys get an idea. I'm not trying to come to the table and show you exact anything. I'm trying to show you that it's possible, that it's probable if you follow good rules with good management. So about 254, give or take. Again, great trade. Right now, we're still sitting in a major zone. So we're not looking at this very second. I am actually in a buy on this. We have a baby triple bottom, but we can discuss that at another time. Simplicity right now says so. So odd JPY was the one we were waiting for from the 31st, and we did end up having to take a loss on this. Now notice, actually I'll scroll this over just a smidge. Notice how when we reviewed it at that time, we were still holding this. I wasn't micromanaging. I wasn't babysitting this. I wasn't freaking out. I had good rules in place and said, okay, this is going to play out how it's going to play out. So with that said, here we are. Blah, blah, blah. Let's find it. This was all the way from the 31st. So we ended up entering just barely on one of these break of the fractals. Okay. Just barely. We got in on one of these area. So our 1 hour structure is here, right? And you add 1 ATR to that to give you the stop loss. 1 ATR. Cool. That's about where you're going to have got knocked out. We know what that loss equals. Never fun, but it is what it is. This has continued to make higher highs. And as of right now, there's quite a few decent buys that technically have some room, but I'm not going to chase that. So the blessing is if you took the simplicity buy now, your stop loss is pretty reasonable, probably about 70, 80 pips. Your target's about 180 pips. So you're still at a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, and you're with a bigger time frame trend. So you're not in a bad position at all. So this isn't a bad trade if you're interested. Definitely a discussion point. I'm going to take that off, mostly because I've already got 2 Australian pretty heavy hitters there. Odd CAD, we were super fortunate. Wow, there's a lot of trades to review. Holy moly. We were looking on the 6th. We know that we're using this plus a 1 hour structure. So we're looking around this area. Let's find the 6th on the right candle. So we're looking for the break of that fractal. This in total moved about 162 pips. I don't know. 162 pips in, well, where did we have that entry? 2-6, but you guys get the idea. So 2-6 from the break or from the retest, depending on what notes we took. You guys get the whole kind of picture. Not a bad way to be, right? Beautiful either way. There's no reason you should not have protected your 50 pips. Your 50 pips happen somewhere in around this zone, right? Easy thing to do. You can apply a trailing stop. You can drag your stop loss in. You can set an alert. You've got thousands of ways, well, hundreds of ways to do it. So pick one that best aligns with you and choose that as a form of management. There you go. That's USD CAD. Last but not least was GBP USD. And let's see, we got, again, pretty fortunate overall. We were looking in around here. We were waiting for the break of that area. So the break of that area doesn't happen until after the pullback. So it doesn't even happen over here. In total, this moved about 200-ish, 180-ish pips, 190-ish pips. Again, not a bad way to be, depending on where you entered. And if you were on that call, you would have heard me say, hey, look, we're waiting for the pullback. We're waiting for the break of the fractal. Either way, no matter how you look at that, your 1 hour structure here, plus your 1 hour ATR, okay, you guys get an idea of this is as doable and duplicatable as you want it to be. So take that off of our watch list. That concludes the review portion from the trades we looked at on the 6th, which is technically the 7th for this time. Now today I'll zoom in so we get a clearer picture of the candles. Yes, me and everybody else on the planet wants to go buy all of the USD pairs, but the USD is extremely strong. So right now, trying to buy some of these pairs is really, really difficult. So do I want this? I absolutely do. So I suppose we're going to start on GU before we keep going. For the person whose question was, how can you talk a little bit about the break of the fractal? My direction of that kind of is multifaceted. I have a strategy that pretty much just use the fractal as well as a couple of other indicators on the 1 hour time frame. I set it up in the morning. Back when I lived in Colorado, I set an alert on, like, I don't know, a whole bunch of pairs, like 14, 20 some odd pairs. And when it hit, I would come to my chart. At that time, I didn't have fancy management. I think the best I had at the time was like the RONs. And I would take the break of the fractal without any kind of additional reversal system, would take the break of the fractal in relation to the conditions that I had set, which had like 7 or 8 confirmations, and I would manage it accordingly. And based off of that alone, I would use that in conjunction with the simplicity. So when you combine those two, now you've got this really high value reversal system that's also confirmed. Because sometimes you're going to get things like this that maybe aren't as ready to play out. But notice how we don't really get the continuation until after a pullback. So the break of that area from the time of the signal doesn't happen over here. It saves you time. And if time is money and you can only leverage so much of your money at a time, then leverage is also, how much you have leverage is also worth a whole bunch of your money. So this is a whole day where you could have been in another trade and have made your 5 or 10 or 20 or 100%, depending on how you're risking what you're doing. And then, of course, you got this alert by here. Now you're ready to take off. So for that reason, I like the idea of the break of the fractals because it gives me a confirmation of a breakout trade. It gives me a confirmation of I'm going where the market is going. Too many people come to the market want to say, hey, well, I want the reversal. Granted, horrible time to bring this up, seeing how we're trading a reversal-based system. But still, I don't want to just take reversals. I want to say the market is going this way. I'm going with the market. Pretty simple. But that's one of my confirmations. And one of the reasons I stick with it so well, particularly in swing trading and not as much with scalping, is there's a lot less fractals, obviously, in a day's time on the 1 hour time frame than there is, say, on the 5 minute or the 15. And it's a lot more defined. So because I can define this and I can duplicate that, it just gives for a really good and adequate management style. It gives a great confirmed system. It's a great way to be, for me at least. So that's what I'm doing in terms of the fractals. Now back to GU. Yes, I want to buy. No, I don't have a reason. But for the fractal question, if I was really eager to take this trade and I really wanted it, despite the simplicity system, at the break of this fractal, I would say, hey, we've got a triple bottom. I'm going to take this knowing that even if I only come up into this void, I've got a pretty safe 38 pips. Now, granted, I'd be managing that pretty tight, knowing my overall targets are going to be much larger, they're going to be like 255 pips. But at least that gives me a really quick entry for reversal, knowing that all of these pairs have a ton of news tomorrow. They have a ton going on, and anything we do in terms of them is going to be risky. So while I bring up odd USD, I'm going to go ahead and go to this other question. I'm pretty sure you guys can see it when I dip around. The next question was kindly asking Miss Jenny, do you have any prop firm farm solutions or any simpler trading strategy and willing to share? Poverty is too much. So for you, Bio, you can ask my daughter. I am trying tirelessly at building these companies. I, at this point, have probably worked with more than a half a dozen different companies, Forex companies, investing companies, prop firms, hedge funds, and I never even intended to. I started all of this completely volunteer. I just got kind of good at it and I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to help. And then, one thing leads to another. So poverty does suck. It's hard, I know, across the board, and things are only going to continue to get a little bit more crazy. So with that said, yes, I am trying. Every strategy that I come up with, I'm going to put on YouTube probably. I might keep a couple and turn them into courses, but in general, other than that, everything I'm doing, you guys have access to, with the exception of those morning calls. And the reason why those morning calls are what they are is because that's time. It's time and it's my entire brainchild. So having said all of that, you can access that from any of the groups that was mentioned at the beginning of this call, such as Super EZ Forex.com, I'm pretty sure. Be Free University, you can access those calls. And here within a month or two, sixfiguretradingcoach.com will also have access to all of those calls as well. And that helps you. So we've got over 500,000 pips, to give you an idea. We've had 99% winning weeks, 99% profitable, months. It's insane how well we have done. We are super blessed. And I promise you, it's not just the pips we get in class. It's the growing as a community. It's the connectivity that is helping people grow individually, even for those who aren't taking the quote unquote signals or trade ideas. They're learning, they're taking ownership over their own trades. So that's on the education, on the strategy part of your question. For the other part of your question, before I get into all of these trades, prop firm. If you go to my link tree, there's a broker in there called Envy. For right now, I'm going to work with them, hopefully build a long-term relationship with them. I plan to use that specific broker for not only the Compound Your Way to 6 and 7 Figures challenge that we're going to start here shortly, but also for a funded account challenge. Because let's be honest, if you're keeping 70, 80, 90% of your profits on a $100,000 account that's not even yours, and you're turning around 10, 20% in a day, a week, a month, you're doing pretty good using somebody else's money, right? OTP, did I say that right? OPM, other people's money, right? OPM, there we go. You're using other people's money. So for me, if you want a recommendation, I would go there. Please do use that link. I'm trying to build a community also there as well. But that's where all my stuff is going to be for the most part. There are plenty of companies like FTMO. There's quite a few that are reasonably good. They just all have different rules and regulations you have to learn to play within. So some companies you can't hold over the weekend. Some companies you can't be an X amount of drawdown. You can't trade certain pairs. Some don't offer much for leverage. Every company has their pros and cons. So pick the one that best suits you and then keep at it, because why not make a whole bunch of money using other people's money, right? But let's do this, and then we'll talk about that last question here in just a second. So odd USD is at a prime level for reversal. Monthly time frame, here's where we're at. We've got a monthly kind of signal, although as you can see, it never continued. So we never really, from the time we got this, we have not broken any of the next fractals. So here we are, we're retesting right now. I'm going to go to the line chart so you guys can get an idea of where we're at. We're at a prime level for reversal. Here's our weekly time frame to give you an idea. We're sitting at a very significant zone. We just passed a couple of, golly, I think it was, I forget what, I have it marked up on TradingView. But here's where we're at, daily time frame. There you go. So to give you an idea, we're looking for this to buy up. Are we saying that it's definitely going to happen? No, we know we have interest rates news tomorrow. We know we have a ton going on. But here's our simplicity system. Here's our double bottom. We've retested. So at the break of this fractal, which is right here, which is 67109. Again, that's 67109. That's where we'd be looking to enter. We don't have any more fractals prior to that. So if and when we break this fractal, my major targets are going to be way up here, about 176 pips away, targeting this void right here, this liquidity void all the way toward the top, kind of at the base of the last bullish candle, if you will. Whoopsie. Sorry for making you guys dizzy. You know, first and foremost, again, so let's go off of the break. I'm going to be protecting within 50 pips. That's going to happen somewhere in and around here. So I am definitely protected by now. As I know, I've closed a portion of my trade, my stop losses and profit. I've got trailing stops or exit managers now ready to take over this trade for me, and I'm not hands-on, which means my emotions and my thought process and all my positive and negative psychology non-sensory is not coming in to mess up my results, because I've got management in place taking care of this. So that's the first one. We're going to make this blue now. So it's part of our active trades for this week. Next one we're looking at, as you can see, is also a Australian pair. Now this is an index. I absolutely love this trade for a multitude of reasons. We've got a kind of deformed head and shoulders here. Let's zoom in, find the break of that fractal. There's going to be a little fractal. Actually, I don't even think we get one here. We do not get one here. So in terms of this one, that's why I had my line drawn. Go figure. I'm going to say right here at the break of these candles. And for that, I'm going to make it green and make it dotted. Green. This call is going to be longer than 20 minutes. Darn it. But it's okay. So green in and around the break of this area, I'm looking for this to buy up. This is worth an awful lot of pips. You know that you're protecting within, and on this one, it's harder to say 50 pips. So I'm going to go ahead and say 1 ATR, which in this case is about 200 pips. You should be protected within about 200 pips. Figure this void right here that we're targeting, that's already 2 times that amount. That is a beautiful way to be. Do I think we have enough oomph to get all the way up to this range, 1200-ish pips? I do. I think those are easy targets. 1200 pips is a pretty easy target. Probably do 1000 pips, pretty easy. If, of course, we break above this zone, I'm looking to bring it all the way into here. To give you an idea of how many pips that is, that's 2,613 pips with a stop loss figure of maybe 700, 800, 900. So you're already at a 2.5 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Not a bad way to be. And keep in mind, a 2.5 to 1 risk to reward ratio sounds great, but here's the reality. everyone is touting this 10-to-1 risk to reward ratio, but their stop loss is so close that if the market sneezes, they get knocked out, which makes their accuracy like, 20%. What if you could maintain an accuracy of 70, 80, 90% by leaving your stop loss out of the way, right? And just taking your trades. So that's my next one. By all means, take it to your demo account, take it to your paper trading, and hopefully let me know how it works out for you. There's W. Make sure you're protecting though. Make sure you're protecting, and you're not activating it until you break that area. I'll make sure that's double clicked so it doesn't move on us. Euro GBP is the next one I'm in. We've broken down, nice engulfing candle. We're sitting back at this level. So do we have a simplicity trade on this just yet? No, we don't. But we do have a beautiful break of a trend line. We're retesting that now. So at the break of this fractal, I would be looking for my entry. The break of that fractal right there, right? That's where I would be looking to say, hey, at this level, I am looking for this to continue to sell down. I know I'm protecting within about 50 pips. This is a slower mover. So you might want to say, hey, I don't need all 50. I'm going to protect within 25 on this one. Definitely not a bad idea. Not bad at all. But this is next on my list. So we'll make that blue. I think that's blue. GBP CAD. I'm going to have to zoom out and make these candles super ugly. But you get the idea. Here we are. Here's our buy. Ta-da. We've got our buy arrow. We have broken above, we have retested, we broke above and retested again. So here's where we're sitting currently right now. We are in a bearish candle. Let's first call a spade a spade. So now that we've seen all that, we're going to zoom out. This is a whole big area. This is a whole bunch of room to be out there looking for some bit of a reversal. This is 285-ish pips, 2 weeks for it to play out. It's going to spring, it's going to wiki around. But yes, I am looking for this to give us our continuation. So now to zoom in, I'm looking for a break of this right here. I don't know if these are going to stay or not with this system, but why not? We'll try. We're looking for the green and the buy of the break of that fractal. That's on our last pair watch list. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Notice how there's quite a few GBP pairs and quite a few odd pairs, not a whole bunch of USD pairs. I was pretty hesitant to play with this at all for many reasons, but to stay true to the system, this does have a buy signal, number one. We have broken above when we have retested, number two. So for that reason, I am looking for a buy at the break of this fractal. The blessing is your stop loss is incredibly tight. Your risk to reward on this is impeccable. Let's see, 270-ish pips. Easy 360. Figure your stop loss at most is 100, even if you have it pretty far away and you add your 1 ATR spring. Not a bad way to be at all. So this is the last trade for the day. With that said, I'm going to try to do live questions and answers for anybody on YouTube or within the, well, YouTube for sure. And of course, if you have any comments, questions, or things that I can help you with, please let me know. This is not a lot of trades. Before I jump off, I want to say US dollar. Everybody, including me, I am part of everybody, is looking for these to buy. I'm going to go the 4 hour for a second. I also am looking for this to buy. Now, granted, we've had a lot of high news. We've got some more coming. I want this, but I don't see that it's ready. GBP USD, I want this, but again, it's not ready. NZD USD, I want this, but it's not ready. USD CAD is on everyone's watch list. We were lucky to get a couple of nice little scalps down. But again, we are still making higher highs and we have no view of turning around. So when we come back in 2 weeks, and if we do have that impulse and correction, we might be in a good place to come take a look at this. But for now, any trades we take on these pairs should be scalp. They should be short term. They shouldn't be super, super long term. USD JPY, this has been a fan favorite for a while. Here we are, incredibly at the top, beautiful flag formation, which is looking like more room to the top side. But again, we have no reason to be chasing this trade. So if there are some of these other pairs that you're absolutely in love with and want to go take a trade on, by all means. But just know that when you do so, you're doing so from a 5 minute, from a 15 minute, right? Oh, there's a 5 minute trade. Simplicity, there's two. One sell, one buy. Know that you're doing so from a much smaller time frame. There's that USD chef that I wanted. Of course, it had to wick down at opening bell. But just so you guys get an idea. NAS 100, here's our 15-minute time frame. We've got a kind of a head and shoulders here. This is about paid off. Looking for this to come up on NAS. US 30, which gapped down. That's interesting. German 30, we've got a nice buy on the 5-minute. Know that you can take these, but you're taking them not as a swing trade. You're taking those as a scalp, scalp, it might be the wrong word for depending on who's defining it, but as a really quick in and out trade. You're not holding these for days and weeks. You're holding these for maybe the day, maybe hours, maybe minutes, maybe the day, but not days. So, but that's all I've got. I don't know how many minutes this was, but I'm definitely kind of curious. I hope that these videos are helping you. I hope that they're making some kind of an impact. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe and all the stuff that YouTube is asking you to do, which I just feel like completely ridiculous for saying, but I'm getting better at it. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a beautiful Tuesday. I will not see you until October